Hey YouTubers and vloggers, it is me, Mark Jr., and I am just here hanging out, doing some hobbies during quarantine. And I made a few purchases from my shopping list, and I figured, hey, what better thing to do than to go ahead and share my thoughts and personal feelings with all of you than to just, record it and vlog it, so here we are. And I went ahead and purchased a Citadel mold line remover for your model kit, which is really awesome. I also went ahead and picked up another tool by them that I'm going to be looking at as well, which is the precision drilling tool. And basically what this is basically for like finer details and some stuff in the model that will add a little bit more sense of realism and make it look more lifelike. So in my previous vlog, I went ahead and did a review of the tools and paints, and now we're actually going to use them. Now we're actually going to give a full review and use them while building an Invictor Warsuit. So it'll be cool. We're going to have a lot of good things that we're going to be reviewing. We're going to review the glue, the paint. We're going to be reviewing the tools that I just showed you, the primer sprays, some brushes. It's going to be a nice little review while we do the Invictor Warsuit. So strap yourselves in. It's going to be a little bit of a lot, and I hope you all enjoy it. Okay, so as you can see here, these are the paints that I went ahead and was telling you about with the previous vlog that you can go ahead and see or view in between my fingers. I don't know if there's going to be a link right there that YouTube will put, but I'm going to put my own little thing here in between my fingers. So, essentially, these are from that review. So, that means this little trimmer right here, which is essentially almost the same as this mold line trimmer over here, is going to be used and reviewed along with this mold liner as well. And then we're going to finally get to use these. These are the Citadel nippers or trimmers that come in the kit with these paints and this little filer as well. Or little shaver, whichever you prefer to label it as or title it as. It really just depends on what you want to do. Let me just go ahead and give you a little overview of my workspace at the moment. Right now I got some stuff over here for an army that I'm slowly amassing. And then I got some other things over here, some bare essentials like some panel liners, some different smaller Warhammer pieces. This is a Darnath Lysander, and then this one right over here is a chaplain in Terminator armor. So that's pretty cool. And then over here, I got some brushes. We're going to be reviewing a few brushes as well. We're going to review a few brushes, and this is going to be one of them. And this is the basing brush. So we're going to be reviewing this brush, and we're also going to review this brush over here, which is the Citadel starter brush. So, we have those brushes there. I got a cup of water over here, some glues. We're also going to be reviewing this Citadel glue as well. I do have an iPad playing some entertainment, but I'm not going to show you which one it is. Mandalorian! But, it's essentially one of those things to, like, keep me busy while I'm also building this thing, which I'm going to show. We gotta have a cup of coffee, of course. Have to have the Citadel brand water pot. Have to have that. I highly recommend it. We're gonna be reviewing it. I had to get it just simply because it's something that they pushed out, so I was like, why not? And we got some other stuff here as well, but we're gonna get to these later at a different review, and we're doing some other smaller paint jobs. And this is what we're gonna be using to review everything today. And this is the Space Marines Primaris Invictor Tactical Warsuit. Now, this thing is really good. This essentially is like your quarterback or your fullback or your forward block. And essentially what he does is he acts like your main offensive line. And he can give you some distance. He does provide a good basic wall for defense, but overall, you want to have him pushing outward. He's going to be the spear tip of your team. And he's actually, if you look at the box, he's made for the Ultramarines group in the Earth Army. And basically, I'm going to be doing it in a different one. I'm going to actually be doing it in this color, which is the off color for the Yellow Army chapter called the Imperial Fist. It actually says it right here on the box, Imperial Fists. And essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to make it all yellow with all these solid power symbols. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to throw a couple of those over onto here. We're going to make a couple of them. We're going to change like some of these chapters. We might add some more purity seals or prayer seals or whatever you prefer to call them. Possibly a couple more things like this, I think, signifies he's had a couple of kills or he's like a type of general or commander. It's something about what his rank is or what he does in particular with his group. So we're going to make it as accurate to the actual lore and literature as possible, minus how they would paint it. We're going to add some touches to make it a little bit more realistic. Like we're going to add some coppers. We're going to add some other brushes. We're going to add shades of aluminum so that way you can tell that there's different, like, steel, iron, just a whole bunch of stuff in there. And we're going to try to make it look as cool and as completely chill as possible. So let's get to it. Okay, so we're all set. We're ready to go. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of a time limit because we only have 2 hours for film. So we'll go ahead and we'll do as much as we can given that time limit. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up these tools, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to give them a nice, good review. So here we have the mold line remover. This one is by Citadel. Okay, so there we have it, the mold line remover. Now, overall, pretty cool. It does not come with any literature, which is a little bit of a downside, but it does have a great feel. The presentation is definitely there. The handle definitely has a good high quality material, and I like it. Based off of the graphic and illustration on the back, it looks like it's used from this angle or a side angle. So I guess it depends on your actual model. Okay, so not bad. Overall, just based off of looks and presentation, I want to give it a 4 out of 5. But out of general use, that shall be seen. And we'll test that out with this Warsuit as soon as we go ahead and take a look at our second item, which is going to be the drill. Now, this is used for like barrels of the gun and different things like adding like bullet marks or scorch marks, or if you want to start like an indentation for like a particular effect, this is a great way to go ahead and start your drilling without going ahead and using a really big drill bit first. You can go ahead and use a smaller bit to make your hole, so that way you can adjust it as you need it and not go ahead and take so much off the top of your model. These things are expensive, so keep in mind, the more plastic you shave off of it, the less you have to work with. Okay, so I like, it kind of gives me the feeling of lead, like the 0.5 millimeter or the 0.7 millimeter lead that you use for a lead pencil. So that's pretty cool. And it looks like it comes with like a small, extra small, medium, large, extra large type of a drill bit. It does not appear to have any literature like the last one, but overall, presentation-wise, it does have a solid 4 out of 5 as well. It is definitely very sturdy. And overall, I like it. It's not bad at all. It is not bad. So now that we have unboxed and addressed our tools, we are going to go ahead and actually start getting into some of the review. And that's going to be with this, the Citadel Lead Belcher. Now, when you receive most of your models, they usually come in this beige, grayish, off ash cement kind of looking color, and essentially what it is it gives the appearance of like a very blandish basic plastic. I actually have a Space Marine that I'm actually in the middle of cleaning and repainting, so it looks essentially something like this. It's very bland, but it does show a lot of detail. So with the Lead Belcher, it saves a lot of work, and it covers a lot of this surface area that you can see on this box art graphic. And with this box art graphic here, you can see that basically from the top of the machine to the bottom of the mech, it is covered in nothing but metals. So using something like that really does help. And I'm going to say that their primers quite literally are a 5 out of 5 for me. You can get it to give you a flat texture, you can get a semi-transparent or a semi-gloss texture, and you can also get a feathered brush texture depending on how fat or how close your spray is. So this stuff is good. I really like this stuff. And I went ahead and did a little prep. So each one of the little trays for our parts, for our warsuit, is going to already be sprayed or sprayed with that Lead Belcher, and it just looks amazing. I love how it looks. Very nice, very good, and very, very effective. Considering that one little bottle of Lead Belcher costs about $4 or $5, it is well worth the investment to get like a nice $12 or $24 can of primer spray. This thing is super heavy. I've barely even used this thing, and it literally will cover all 3 of these with no problem. You won't even use a quarter of the can. It's really good. It's super effective. Now, in the box, you also get a bunch of decals. I don't think these are stickers. I believe these are actually decals. So, we're going to put these off to the side because we're going to use a different set. And then here we are with our instruction manual and booklet. Okay, so we have a few essential pieces that we can start with, but our main objective is to build as we work. So what we're going to do is we're going to work around it to get this essential effect, but with our army's colors. So it's not going to be that hard. It's just going to take a little time, a little patience, and a little effort. Alright, so enough of the talking and enough of my bantering. If you went ahead and followed my little tab that I went ahead and inserted, now is the time that I'm going to start building and actually reviewing everything. So let's get into it. Okay, so first we're going to actually start with the cockpit housing of the mech itself. So for that we're going to need pieces 2 through 5. So we're going to start with our Citadel nippers, or trimmers. And right now we want to go through okay, so it's going to be this one over here. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so far their nippers are pretty solid. I like them. They aren't bad and they're pretty good. They give a nice solid cut. So now, we're going to keep going. Okay, so there's definitely some things you have to be careful of. As you can see here, these types of abrasions are called pressure cuts, because as you cut it, you're essentially squeezing the plastic till it breaks. So, what we have to do to make sure that we don't get any of those is we have to cut above where the plastic meets the actual little piece that it's attached to when it's in the mold. And now that we have it all separated like this, notice how I have these big sections? We can now trim it a lot easier. And now it looks like we have less. It looks a lot less apparent. I will say this though, compared to other model companies such as Bandai or anything else like that, like Tamiya or anything else that you would personally think of that you might be fond of, just note, it's one of those things that unless you're an avid model builder, it's not that big of a deal. It is fixable. It's not that hard, but don't go, oh my goodness, the model's ruined. So you can see there's definitely a difference in the type of cut, even feeling it with your finger. So what we're going to do to fix that is we're going to actually start with our first paint review. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the starter brush, and we're going to match it up with the lead belcher. So now, there we go. So now it's less apparent. There we go. So now you can kind of tell, but not so much. And just remember, things like layers can always be corrected, especially because this is going to be our base layer. All of these little spots and little like nicks and things that make it have the appearance that there we go, that it's real. Happens when you give it a little bit more detail. Now don't mind me if I'm talking and then I pause. It's because I'm trying to look at the model and see if there's any surface areas that I'm missing or perhaps might be underutilizing. Okay, so not bad overall, looking really good. Okay, so there we go. We've touched up all the little pieces that we've primed. So now you can even hardly tell, minus the actual little bits of plastic that kind of looks like that it's gone now. But you can actually hardly really tell that anything happened to it. And it's actually going to be getting covered up anyway, so we actually did a really good job. Okay, so with our first pieces already being cut and our first paint being a total 5 out of 5, we're now going to try the water pot. And so far it seems to actually be a really good pot. I like how it feels. You can definitely tell with the different ridges and different uses of the water pot that it actually did thoroughly clean the brush, and it actually felt like it was in like a washer. It was like versus like you know, like a standard cup. So that was really cool. It's really good. That's definitely a 5 out of 5. And with that being said, I'll drink to it. Alright, so next up we have the glue. Now, if you are a model expert or avid model builder, glue is my biggest pet peeve. So I have their actual glue, and I'm going to just say right off the bat, I have the same feeling that I had when I looked at the Tamiya glue. It looks super watery. It doesn't look like it's going to adhere or it's going to set or seal, and it's just, so let's not judge it, and let's actually try it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with our first couple of pieces. Now, inside here of this cockpit area, we actually have some foot pedals, which look really nice. But we're actually going to go over all of this area later. And right now we're going to add in the frame brace, so that way this thing can go upwards and downwards. But before we do that, we want to fully paint and prime everything that we want detailed now. So, because this front area that we're painting is a bluish type color, we're actually going to go ahead and paint that yellow. And because the box frame that we're initially making is going to be painted blue, we're also going to paint that yellow. So for that, we're going to grab the airbrush. Okay, we're going to be using this airbrush. It's a generic airbrush that I went ahead and purchased off of Amazon, and it's not bad. It's actually like 50 bucks, and it's pretty good. I like it. I highly recommend it, and if you want to check out my review for it on another vlog, by all means, please feel free to do so. And basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to use this, and we're going to use the Citadel Everland Sunset air paint. So it's not a base paint like how this Everland Sunset is, which means that you don't use your brush to apply it. What this means is it's already blended and prepared to go straight into this clear little tube, so that way I can just spray and apply it to our parts. So I'm going to spray this whole thing in a nice Everland yellow, and then from there what's going to end up happening is we're going to end up detailing it as we build, because unfortunately once these things are all assembled, they're really hard to get all the fine details on the inside of the machine that you don't actually get to see. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and from there we'll go ahead and we'll continue building. Okay, so it is a new day, and I went ahead and I assembled the pieces that we were trying to build. So I went ahead and did some minor detail work. I did some stuff to basically get it prepped. To me, it looks not bad, but it's still a WIP, or a work in progress. So, we're actually going to move on, and we're going to add a couple of pieces that I went ahead and prepped for today. So I added this piece right here, this little piece, and this little piece. And what we're going to do today is we're going to essentially finish a little bit of the cockpit. We're going to add the top part assembly, so that way the head area will be fully assembled and ready for when it hits the field. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a test fitting first to see which areas are going to be making the most contact. Okay, so it looks like these back panels that I'm applying the glue to and this back lined area where the brace is going to be where we apply our glue. And then from there we're going to just slowly push that down, and that should just nicely fit into place. Okay, there we are. So now we have the top of our pilot cockpit ready to go. Now we're just going to give this like a good 5-10 minutes, give or take. Me personally, I always go with 3, 5, or 8. But this glue is actually really good. I actually really like their brand, especially for looking like it's really liquidy. It's actually not bad at all. It holds up quite well. It does pretty decent work. And overall, as you can see from how I'm painting it, not a lot of people like to show the details. So I'm just going ahead and giving you a little look-see as it gets built versus, oh, it's built and it's good to go now and everything's good and all that type of stuff. So now we're going to put in some little cameras, and it looks like for the most part they're gonna just sit right in the little recesses of this top area. So as you can see here, there's nothing there now, but we're gonna apply a little bit of adhesive. Watch out there, Thor. And there we are. So now we basically have the whole cockpit for our pilot almost completed. So I'm going to just go ahead and do a little bit of a review. And I'm going to say, with the colors that you see here, like the Everland yellow from the painter and tool set that I purchased, it really did a great job. You can see like some of the reds in the lights and in the front with the Mephiston red, and then like the black with the Abaddon or the Abaddon black. And then this particular color is a layer similar to one of the ones that you get in your set, but This one actually I purchased offhand at the shop, and this is hash nut copper, and let me just say, it really makes some metal parts just pop. It really gives a nice contrast, so that way things aren't just a single tone. And then later when you go to finish it up, it looks a lot better. So with that, we're going to continue on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prep some more parts, like how I did with this top area and these two lights. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue assembling. So if I happen to talk or if I'm interjecting, it's because I just want to go ahead and give you a little bit of my 2 cents and what I'm getting as I build all this. So that being firmly stated, let's get to it. Okay, so right now it is a new day and I have completed a little bit more of the model kit for the piece. So I figured now would be a good time, as I finish up a little bit of fine detailing on a few layers, to get just the right shade of yellow and not so much a transparent yellow to where I'm seeing the lead belcher underneath. So as we apply even strokes with our painting brush, there we go. I'm going to just show you a panel that I did right over here, and this one isn't bad at all. It's actually really good. I like it. It has a nice, clear, even coat. It looks good. It looks presentable. I mean, I could go over it a few more times, but for now, before it gets actually mounted, this will do. So, to me, their paints overall are really good, and when compared with their starter brush that you get inside of the toolkit to like an ammo brush, and this is their standard synthetic round brush, this is their number 2. This is the closest thing that I would say actually gets to like absolute duplication or absolute like brush doppelganger, that quite literally this would be the closest one to an actual Citadel brush, because this thing is great. I use this and this thing performed quite well. I actually want to save the lifespan of this particular brush, which is why I'm using the ammo brush right now, but it's actually really good. That starter brush, by far, really great. I love it. The basing brush, however, this one right here, I have not gotten to use just yet, but that will come once we do the base. So right now, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just mount a couple of pieces, and I'm going to essentially apply on a couple of body pieces to the frame, and these mechanical side panels or side armor goes on just like that. Boom. So now we take another part of the side armor and we apply it right over here on the rim. And we just apply a little bit more adhesive. And then from there, we apply the left side armor. So now we're just going to throw this onto there. go. There we go, there we go. And now, we just have to let it sit for a little bit. So as it goes ahead and rests, and takes in like a good 4-5 minute count, we're going to go ahead and put over a couple of the panels. And then from there, what we are now going to do is we're going to finish these 2 panels. So as you can see right here, this panel is going to go on the top over here, like so. And this one goes over onto this end. Notice the complete difference in tone and color, especially when I go ahead and give it a nice little angle right there. There's a big difference between that yellow and that lead belcher, and it looks gorgeous. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish applying a couple more layers of yellow, and then from there we can go ahead and mount those plates. But in the meantime, because this is already a finished piece right here, we are going to actually do the missile launcher. And the missile launcher is actually going to go right onto the top of the actual cockpit and pilot piece. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this goes in firmly but has enough space to rotate. So there we go. And now we have our rockets inside of the top. I guess you would say this is the head area, the headrest area. So now we have that partially done. We just have to continue applying a few more layers, and that is what we're doing next. So we're going to get our Everland Sunset, and we're going to first apply just a nice generous helping of the paint, which actually goes on really, really clean. Compared to some of the other model paints that I use all the time, it actually just flows right onto the piece or the particular area or surface that you're working on. Now this armor shard that's going to go ahead and be mounted on the left hand side is going to need a few coats. So we just go over it one at a time. Nice even strokes. As all of this liquid settles and dries. The other plus to their paints, and using their paints in particular from their pots or their little cauldrons, as I like to call them, is that it dries fairly quickly. It's not necessarily like quick drying to where it's like you have to apply it within a few seconds and then you're screwed. But it's fairly decent when it comes to its dry time. And its dry time isn't bad at all, especially for this liquid. It's very, very useful. It's almost to where it has a substance of, I want to say it gives the feeling through a brush that it's almost like a pure extract. So it makes the impression that it's not necessarily grainy, but it's something that's been powdered all the way down into a pure, I guess you could say, glue type form, to where it's just so malleable that it just flows evenly as a general tar, or like a general type of bonding agent that will essentially give you the effect that you want. So what I like to do is I like to just go back and forth, back and forth. And like I said before, don't mind me if I talk and then I stop talking. I'm trying to make sure that I get as many of the spots that I can now, because layer after layer, spots become less apparent as the yellow gets brighter and louder, and the less paint you have to use while layering, the more paint you can utilize later. Okay, so this piece is looking almost done with one side, and this piece is going in now for its second layer, and it looks a lot better, a lot better. Okay, so this one is looking good as well, but the brush is looking a little dry, and we're just going to apply a little bit more of our yellow . By this time, your piece's armor should already be about dry, or just about dry. So don't be too concerned if you have to go back and reapply glue, or if your glue isn't looking all that good. You did an okay job. Just be sure to give it a little test and make sure that it's in place and it doesn't just come off of the side that you glued it to or adhered it to. And make sure that any of the color that you are applying is the way you want it before you actually go ahead and mount it onto your item, or in this case, my battle mech. Aw, I have my dog, and my dog is over here sleeping in between my feet right now, so I can feel him sleeping going. So right now he's being all cute. He's trying to suck up because he got a lot of food earlier. He's like, more food. Just give me food. Love me. Okay, so we're looking good, and now what we're going to do is we're going to keep on applying our layers of paint. Thankfully, they did a good job blending their formula, because each one of these colors is actually very, very cool with its dry time, and its dry time is astounding. Okay, so okay, so there we go. That looks a little better. And now we can get applying our final layers. Now keep in mind, I know this little tutorial and review is probably going a little slow. So just know after this particular part, because most of my review is going to actually be in most of the beginning, a lot of the build time and painting and all that, I'm going to trim it down so that way it's not as slow or as boring or anything like that. I'm going to trim it all up just as I finish up this last little bit. But so far, each one of the things that they manufacture is great. It's just wonderful. I don't know what parts I don't like, because frankly, every single one of the things that they have made, it works. It's all very sharp. It's super chic, and all you got to do is just take your time and go slow with it, and not rush through, because otherwise you won't get the look or the effect or affect that you want to get. And there we are. Okay, so overall, I give their paints like a 4.5 out of 5. Because they have a lot for paints. And I'm not going to say that every single one of their paints is basically perfect. But each one of their paints is unique. And with their specialties, I would say consider using their paint or their color applications more frequently than others, because they have a really good library. I myself am a fan of their metals. They make great metals. Their prime colors are really good. I love how their prime colors always come out. And if you do a lot with the attention to detail, you can actually get lots of great effects with different colors. So it just really depends on what you want to do. So we're going to let this side dry, and since this side is already ready to be mounted, we're going to go ahead and we're going to apply a little bit more glue, which for me gets a 5 out of 5. And the reason why their glue gets a perfect 5 out of 5 is because their glue has a needle spout. So their needle spout makes it very easy to do like a quick tack job, to go and do like 1, 2, 3, 4 little dots. It's really quick and super efficient. So there goes the first panel, which doesn't look that bad, especially from all the way over there. I'm going to bring it in a little closer. The first panel looking pretty good so far. Okay, so there we are with the second armor plate, and overall not bad. Overall looks good, gives enough space and enough of a clearing to actually create the mech or the warsuit illusion. So it looks really good. These two pieces are almost done drying, and then we'll apply these as well. And these two pieces will mount the exact same way. So those two will get mounted right there. And then from there, we will take this whole thing into like an overdrive. And this thing will basically be built within the next couple of scenes. So hopefully you all enjoy that. Just a little note, Citadel does make air paint. And their air paint is really good, but if you do not have the right equipment, I do not recommend air painting. So if you don't have the right equipment, do not do it, okay? So just stick with hand painting or have a professional service go ahead and paint something for you as well. So with that, we're going to apply these final two armor pieces. And we're actually going to do it the same way we did it the other side, because we want to make sure that the final armor pieces sit like how they're supposed to and create the same illusion as the other pieces. There we go. So now we can apply our last little bit of glue. Now this is a common issue, and that's that the metal tip sometimes gets a little clogged. All you need to do is just get a really fine tip needle and just kind of help it. we go. And you'll get a little spurt. And you'll hear a little bit of air going again. So now, there we go. Alright, there we are. So now, we have all 4 armor pieces mounted on our suit, so we're good to go. Alright, now I'm going to speed this thing up, and we're going to go ahead and see the finished products for each parts of the Warsuit. So I'm going to do like this part first, and then we'll do each of the arms, and then the legs, and then an overall quick final look through as it's finished. Alright, so hopefully I haven't bored or borne the crap out of all of you. Okay, so right now I have the left arm finished. Looks pretty good. And right now I have it set up so that way you can take out the detachable hand or fist. So that way he can either be holding a bolter or he'll be open-fisted with the power fist or a power claw. So that's pretty cool. And then here is the right side arm. I went with the double-barreled long caliber or the large caliber rifle instead of the flamer. I figured that would be a little bit more advantageous. Distance is always better in my opinion. So that's what I went for that. And just looking back, we have the cockpit seat or the pilot seat and the actual body of the mech itself. Okay, so now we're getting onto the legs, and I just want to make a note of something. When I've been getting each one of these pieces out, I've been really taking my time and paying attention to each individual little cut that I do on each particular part or piece from the actual sprue. And let me just say, these nippers or trimmers aren't bad. They're definitely pretty good, but what else do they have to offer? And Citadel actually makes a pro pair of cutters or trimmers, whichever you prefer to call them. And essentially, these things are way better than the starter ones that you get. And I was going in and getting some paint, so I figured I would try these out too since we're in the middle of a build, and give these a review too. Okay, so wow, definitely a big difference I can tell already. Woo! Okay, so the box had some really good packaging. No literature again. But my goodness, these things feel solid as a rock. So let's give these a try. And let's see how well they do performance-wise. Oh my goodness, that was just so smooth. That literally took no effort at all. Oh, that was really nice. Really, really nice. Woo. Oh, wow. And the further up you go along the edges of the nippers, my goodness, that thing just became like butter. It just came right off of the little sprue here, and it's just amazing. Okay, so we're gonna use these for a little bit, and so far we are going to build these leg pieces. So I'm gonna just go ahead and leave this here, and then when I remove it, it should be built. Alrighty, it is the middle of the evening. It's about 6 o'clock, and I actually just finished doing some of the last details before I actually start washing and doing anything really serious to this warsuit. That glorious and quite literally flawless looking tactical warsuit. And basically right now we have the legs completed. So I have a command skull here because it is a captain or a commander that's in the pilot seat. And I have the third company or the third group or chapter because he's going to be with Tor Garridan. And then I also just threw in like a little hazard symbol because it is a mech. And then, or a mech symbol, whichever you prefer to call it. And then I got an Imperial Fist symbol right here on the side where the ball joint would be. So that's pretty cool. Overall, this thing was nice to paint. It was pretty fun painting it. But definitely something to take your time with. Don't rush, and if you get frustrated, just go through it slowly. Go through it slowly. Don't just be like, ah! You want to just do. So now, here is the right arm with a fire support symbol on the armor pad or armor plate. And then we have a Imperial Fist emblem or logo on the left arm. And then for the left arm, I actually did both instead of mounting the gun. So he has a power claw hand, or he has a bolter. So he doesn't just have one weapon option like how the box displays, or like how the instructions displays. So I actually went ahead and made him a little bit more usable. And then while I was at it, I also took the time to test out their Citadel brand technical shade, which is the texture one. And this one actually did a pretty decent job of basing the actual stand or plaque that it's going to be sitting on or standing upon. And it's okay, it's not bad. I actually went over it with another color of Gorthor Brown, and this is a layer to make it a little lighter because the initial textured paint isn't as light as it, at least as it should be to me. But I went ahead and just lighten that up. But overall, it does a great job. Good work. Later, I can add little bits of stuff to it and make the terrain a little bit more real or believable, however you prefer. This is just a standard look for me, so I like it. It's not bad. It looks good. And, okay, so with all that, we are basically going to go ahead and start putting this guy together. Before we do that, though, I'm just going to add a nice little bit of detailing. And these are purity seals. and some people have a really hard time doing those, and I actually did mine with one of these, a Gundam marker, because the tip literally is like super fine. It is so fine, it's ridiculous. And all I do is I just go and I just like let my hand jiggle as I like drag it across the surface. So while keeping an open grip, I just go ahead and let it move with the motion of the friction of the pen meeting the surface versus just letting my muscles twitch. So we're gonna just add those on really quickly. And overall, building with all of their stuff, I just have to say, it's definitely a 5 out of 5. Their products are pretty good. They're pretty solid when it comes to reviews, at least that I've seen. And when I'm actually testing all of them out and using them and everything, it shows. It really does show. And you know, the fact that it does show just tells me personally that they took really good time and care while developing their items for people like me and you. And others alike out there. Okay, so I have the bolt pistol mounted onto the arm now, but I kind of left it with a little gap, so that way if I want to, I can just give it a little oomph, and then there we go, and now I can switch it out for the power fist or the power claw. So that's not that bad, and that looks pretty good. That looks alright. I can, the nice thing about the nice thing about having a piece that isn't glued is that you can do cool stuff like this. Like I can make him swing his gat sideways, or I can make him have his bolters shot at an angle. So that's pretty funny. It's quite amusing. It's a little orcish. It's a little orcish. So definitely a little orcish. Okay, so we got that. We got that. We're just waiting on a purity seal, and it looks like we're okay. So now we can go ahead and do one more purity seal. And I'm going to just throw this last purity seal, like right there. There we go. That doesn't look half bad. Alright, so now everything looks like it's ready to go, so I'm going to start assembling. And while that's drying, we will just try to not interfere with its process. So, we're going to take the arm, and we're going to carefully place it inwards, and then slowly adjust it to a downward position. Now just there we go. Okay, so there's one. That's not looking that bad. There's the first part. First arm. Good to go. As you can see some of the details while these purity seals dry, I went ahead and added some scriptures, and then I went ahead and gave him the third chapter. I also did a nice third company or third chapter color up in the front as well, which is really nice. Okay, so there we go. That's with both arms. And now there we have it. The fully completed Invictor Tactical Warsuit for your Primaris, Ultramarines, or any other chapter or founding of Space Marine Astartes groups that you might play with or go ahead and use on the game board. Overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give this kit I wouldn't say like an 8 or a 9, because there were definitely some pieces that I personally felt could have been sculpted or pieced together a little differently. But overall, not bad. It's really good. I like it. It's definitely something that my little miniature game board army could use. And it was definitely worth my buy, or worth the purchase. And I like it. Their products were really great and really good as far as any of the stuff that they go ahead and offer at any Games Workshop or Warhammer store. So there we have it. I'm going to try to zoom in for you. There we go. So overall, not bad. Like I said, a good solid 8 or a good solid 9. Just as a professional model, not necessarily as something that you would use in like a board game or a tabletop arena. Just something, you know, to build, just something to put on the shelf. Something to test your technical skills and talents. But overall, not bad. A lot of their products, worth it. Their drill actually really surprised me. This little thing actually had a nice feature in it to where if you wanted to get super large drill holes for things like this exhaust vent over here towards the rear, over on this side over here, then the drill has two heads for your bit pieces, and you can put in larger size drill bits or smaller size drill bits, and essentially it makes a whole lot of difference for the effect that you want to create with your particular piece or your particular item that you are painting or that you are just enjoying because you are an artisan. The file, definitely worth the purchase. I like the file. It definitely helped with a lot of things, but in this particular model's case, it did not, actually. I did not actually use it for this particular model because I didn't see any of the mold lining that I actually wanted to remove. So, overall, for my Space Marines, definitely something I would use. But for this particular model, I did not use it. And their cutters, oh my goodness. These things were an epic lifesaver compared to the standard one. Oh my goodness, big difference. Although you should definitely learn how to use these first before you upgrade instead of just upgrading. Because these ones right here, you need to learn how to use them. And these things were wonderful. I loved these things. These things made a difference. So overall, with all their products and everything that they offer, including everything down to the glue itself, I would give Games Workshop's products a very, very solid rating. Because all the stuff that they make is really good. Everything that I've seen so far is flawless. And if you aren't essentially giving them a score of like an 8 or a 9 or anything near that, then my goodness, you must be a prude. Or you must be one of the top modeling critics around. So, I'm just going to add that nice little bit of glue. There we go. To finish off the last process. So now, as the glue finally sits and the legs get based, I'm not going to glue this center peg simply for the fact of the game. You want to be able to rotate it in the game. So, that's definitely a big plus. Alrighty, it has been a little while, so now, there we are. We are all set and all finished with the Primaris Invictor Tactical Warsuit for the Space Marines from Games Workshop. Overall, I want to give this thing a 5 out of 5, and with their products, this being the paints, the tools, and anything else that they basically produce in order to achieve the effects or the goal that you want with your model, as a solid 9. I want to give it a 9, because they do make some products that were available in the past and are no longer available now. So, if some of those older products were either re-engineered or redone to basically be remarketed, that would be great. But overall, from their watering pot all the way down to literally the starter file that they provide, a solid 9 out of 10. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you want a step-by-step tutorial, feel free to go ahead and click into my videos and check and see for any step-by-step guides. Or feel free to search YouTube for any other tutorials or walkthroughs on how to go ahead and paint Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40K models. Happy rolling!